Outcasted OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC and welcome to the WWE 2023 Money in the Bank review / recap. Now, I can confidently say, hand on heart, that this is, in my opinion, the best premium live event to come out of 2023 from WWE. It was just top to bottom from the beginning of the card to the end of the card. Fantastic. I loved it so much. So let's just get straight into it. So, Money in the Bank this year started off with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, we said this on the podcast, and this has always been my thought process when it comes down to Money in the Bank, not just specifically this year, but the match order is very important when you have Money in the Bank specifically, because if the briefcase is won earlier in the night, it can always impact later on in the night. So we started off with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, the participants of this match were Butch, Santos Escobar, Logan Paul, LA Knight, Damian Priest, Ricochet, and Shinsuke Nakamura. This match was incredible. I expected nothing less from half of the group of the participants who are high flyers. I expected nothing less. There were some fantastic moves. There was this one move where Logan Paul got thrown onto the ladder. There was a ladder that was like here, another ladder that was like here wedged in with the ring, and he got thrown into it, and it looked insanely painful. The match was really good. There were so many moments where different people were running up the ladder, making it look like different people could win. The crowd was honestly so behind LA Knight during this match. He got one of probably the biggest crowd reaction of his entire career at Money in the Bank, specifically today. I know on SmackDown he got a really big reaction, but I think the reaction that he got today at Money in the Bank was so much bigger and so much louder than what he got at SmackDown. People were really behind him. I initially wanted LA Knight to win. He was my first pick to win just because I think he deserves it so much in terms of actually giving him the opportunity to elevate his gimmick, his career, and elevate him throughout WWE. The match was really good. I honestly didn't write any notes on it because I was just so focused on the match itself. But we had a few moments where LA Knight was running up the ladder and the crowd was getting very excited. Somebody else would run up the ladder and obviously would start booing because the entire crowd was behind LA Knight. Few back and forths like that, and the winner of the match ended up being Damian Priest. So Damian Priest is the 2023 Men's Money in the Bank winner. He now holds the Money in the Bank briefcase and he can cash in on anyone, anytime. His win does play a little bit of a part later on in Money in the Bank. We will get to that when that happens. I knew that would kind of happen, but nonetheless, it was a really good opening match. I think it was fantastic. I am still a little bit bummed that LA Knight did not come out with the win, but as Triple H mentioned in the press conference, sometimes for people, and he did reference LA Knight, he said sometimes people do take a little bit longer to get to where they need to, and sometimes you get the most out of those stories when you have to wait a little bit longer. Obviously, that's also a reference to Cody Rhodes, but I do think LA Knight's time will come, and I'm really hoping that we do get to see bigger and better things for LA Knight because he totally deserves it. Then we moved on to the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. Now this was with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler going up against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Obviously for the title belts that Liv and Raquel never actually lost in a match. They had to relinquish them due to Liv Morgan sustaining a shoulder injury in that match with Damage Control. That was referenced on commentary. The match was really good. It's been very similar to the same kind of matches that we have seen from them in the past. I do think continually having matches with the four of them, whether it is in a tag situation or separately, did kind of take away a little bit of the sparkle for me in this match. I feel like if we hadn't have seen them wrestle often together, then we would have, obviously been a little bit more excited in terms of the moves that we're seeing. But because we've seen Ronda and Shayna go up against Liv and Raquel before, I kind of felt like the match was very similar to, how we've seen it in the past. There was a spot, and this is really important, there was a spot in the match where Shayna comes out and Ronda tags herself in, so she goes in, and then out of nowhere we literally just see Shayna Baszler turning on Ronda Rousey and just attacking her, because Ronda was going after Liv, and when this happened, when Shayna just started trading blows to Ronda Rousey and just started turning on her and beating down on her, even Liv was really confused. She's like, Like, what's going on? Is the match going to continue? Like, where do we go from here? Like, what is going on? So Shayna Baszler has now turned on her tag partner, Ronda Rousey, and when I saw that, I literally popped so hard because I knew that these guys were going to turn on each other at some point. Didn't know who it was going to be. I just thought we were going to have to wait a little bit longer. But to be honest, I'm really happy this has happened. I really want to see the version of Shayna Baszler that we got in NXT, the kind of Shayna Baszler that bit Becky Lynch when she challenged her for the title at WrestleMania. We also need the old Shayna Baszler theme song back. I don't care if it's no longer by Def Rebel or if it's a CFO theme. I just think if we are going to be bringing Shayna Baszler back, we need to bring her back in her fullest form. So that quite literally for me means the theme, the gimmick, the character, the attitude. Everything needs to reference back to that NXT Shayna Baszler. I'm so excited for this. Shayna just attacked her and just left the ring and just started walking off. So everyone was kind of confused. They're like, well, where do we go from here? Then it was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez that quickly got some moves together and quickly beat down Ronda. And they are the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. I'm chewing up on my words because of how excited I was for the Shayna Baszler turn. I personally think that it's a good idea getting the tag titles off Ronda and Shayna. I've seen a lot of people talking online about how they're not a fan of Shayna and Ronda holding the tag titles because Ronda demands a lot. Now I will say it's unfair to lump Shayna Baszler into that situation because Shayna Baszler in herself has been working on the independent circuit. She's a great wrestler and she actually came in from MMA to wrestling. She has the respect for the business. She's worked her way up in the business, and I just think that Shayna, out of Ronda and Shayna, is the better wrestler and deserves to have a little bit more respect on her name than what she gets, instead of being lumped into the dumpster fire that people consider Ronda Rousey. Next up, we had the match between Matt Riddle and Gunther. Now, this was for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. I already knew these two would put on a banger. Any match that Gunther puts on these days, regardless of who it is with, is a certified banger. This match was awesome. I loved how at the beginning of the match, whether it was when Gunther was walking out to the ring or in the match itself, Michael Cole referenced Progress Wrestling and mentioned the fact that they have actually fought before many a time in Progress Wrestling. If you're a wrestling head like a lot of us, you will understand how important it is that history gets mentioned, especially in WWE. It's really important to actually show that some competitors have fought before. There's obviously history there. There's been a feud there before. It's really important to make us not feel like we're, stupid when it comes to remembering wrestling history. This match was awesome. It was great. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. They put on a fantastic match. Gunther did come away with the win on this, and I was kind of expecting Gunther and Imperium to beat down on Riddle. Now, I didn't even notice that, Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser, they weren't even ringside. I didn't even notice that. That's how enthralled I was in the match. And I was almost expecting a beatdown to happen and Randy Orton to come out, but it was fine. Gunther was celebrating his win until... And I wasn't even ready for this when this happened. When it happened, I literally got out of my seat and freaked out. I heard two swords and saw McIntyre along the Titantron, and the crowd erupted. Drew McIntyre has come back. He walked down to the ring, didn't say anything, literally got straight in the ring and started looking and facing off against Gunther and started beating down on him. Hit him with a claymore. I'm so excited that Drew McIntyre is back. I think having him in a feud with Gunther, especially if you saw the WrestleMania match that was the triple threat match, I already know these two singly can put on a banger. I thought it was a fantastic way to bring Drew McIntyre back. Obviously, there's been rumblings that his contract is expiring and he's not happy with creative, and I'm just genuinely so excited that Drew McIntyre is back. That he got to come back in front of a UK crowd. The UK crowd reacted so well to him. It was incredible. I'm so happy for him, and I do think that this will be a match that we maybe will see at SummerSlam. Not to mention, I do think maybe even Drew McIntyre could be the one to dethrone Gunther. I'm sorry that I've said that because I love Gunther, but I just think maybe Drew McIntyre could be the next Intercontinental Champion. Don't get any ideas, WWE, because if you do, you'll have to start paying me for my fantasy booking and paying all my friends at Outcasted as well too, because we have fantastic ideas. So yeah, don't steal our content and our ideas unless you ask us. After the return of Drew McIntyre, we had the match between Cody Rhodes and Dominic Mysterio. Now, this was a really good match. I felt it kind of started off a little bit slow, got to where it needed to go. There were a few spots outside of the ring. There was a spot where Dominic Mysterio went outside into the crowd, and then Cody Rhodes kind of followed in suit, and they started brawling in the crowd as well too. Bringing it back to the crowd, Rhea was trying to get involved. She was obviously hyping up Dom Dom and was really excited, trying to get in Cody's brain. Cody's trying to get in Cody's head pretty much. And the match was really good. I felt like it went on a little bit shorter than what it could, but that's okay. I think timing in premium live events, you can't really help if some things go on longer than others, but that's okay. Nonetheless, it was an awesome match. Cody Rhodes did come away with the win. Now, a part of me was sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for Brock Lesnar to return, but he didn't. I'm kind of happy Brock Lesnar didn't return because Cody needed that vindication moment. He needed that moment in front of the UK crowd to feel and bask in the glory that was his win. I do think Brock Lesnar will be returning at some point to face off against Cody Rhodes to set up a match potentially for SummerSlam. Please don't quote me on that, but I just have a feeling that that might be what it is. We may see that in a couple of weeks' time, or even this week when WWE is in the Garden. Who knows, we might see that, but I guess we just have to wait and see. So after this match, we were kind of just sitting waiting. I think there was like a couple of minutes where we kind of didn't really have anything happen. Maybe there was a promo package. I think actually it was a promo package for SummerSlam. Then we come back and I'm just sitting vibing, Jay chilling, and out of nowhere I literally just hear the trumpets. And I got out of my seat and I thought to myself, excuse me? Is that? That can't be. No. Look at the Titantron, John Cena's name. I start screaming, freaking, crying, crying. I'm doing all of the emotions. I literally started bawling my eyes out. I can feel myself getting emotional now. John Cena returned. I loved it. He came out, the crowd went thunderous. It was the loudest pop of the night. The roof literally almost came off the building. They were so excited for John Cena. They were singing his song. He looked so excited to be there. He looked so just filled with emotions. He was talking to Stu, the cameraman, ran down to the ring, had a microphone in hand, started talking, and he was talking about the UK crowd and talking about how great they are and about how they have a lot of respect for wrestling. They care about wrestling. They love wrestling. Really playing with the crowd's emotions, playing with a lot of my emotions as well too. I love John Cena. He's been one of my favourites for a very long time. And yes, I can, say wholeheartedly, there have been times in his career where, I may have taken him for granted, but because we don't see John Cena very often now, it makes me feel grateful for the time we had with John Cena. And he's talking to the crowd and he's saying, I don't really get to do this very much. And he was just opening up to the crowd and really playing with the crowd. And they were so excited to see him. They were so happy. And he ends up mentioning that, obviously they're doing more international live events, and every time they go somewhere different, the crowd is fantastic. The crowd is what makes the show. And then he drops a bomb saying that he's been lobbying and he's trying to get WWE to have a WrestleMania in London, and the crowd absolutely loses their mind. I do think having a WrestleMania abroad, if you were going to pick a place for it, I do think having it in the United Kingdom is the best place for it. So many people would turn up for it, not to mention you'd have people from the United States coming, people from all over the world coming to WrestleMania, no matter where it is. I do think wrestling fans in the UK have a lot of respect for wrestlers and for the wrestling industry, and just the overall vibe is different when you're watching a show, whether it is like a US episode of Raw where the US crowd is there in somewhere like Kentucky compared to the UK. The UK gets unglued, everyone's so excited. I honestly cannot say enough about you guys as fans. I appreciate and love you guys so much because you make the show what it is. So pretty much when John Cena said that he's been thinking about, and been really pushing for WrestleMania to be in London, everyone loses their mind. I lost my mind because I just think the UK crowd / Europe, because people can come from Europe, it would be fantastic. Then the segment ends up getting interrupted by Grayson Waller. Now Grayson Waller comes out to the ring and he's like talking to John Cena, and he's like, well, it's meant to be summer here, but I've had to wear my hoodie for the last couple of days. Like, it's been cold and it's been boring. They should have a WrestleMania somewhere else, somewhere where it's warmer, the chicks are better, the beaches are better, the weather's better, and says, maybe we should just have a WrestleMania in Australia. And I was like, you shouldn't be delivering that message, but I'm fully behind it. If any of you know, I am from New Zealand. My premium live events have been cancelled and postponed. They've been postponed for the last 3 years because of scheduling conflicts. Officially got cancelled this year. So I was extremely gutted because I was going to be going to a WWE live event, and now I don't know when that's happening, and I am craving to go to a WWE show. There's speculations that there'll be an event happening in Australia at some point, so any glimpse, any little tidbit of information, any little droplet that WWE gives me to reference an Australia show, I completely just get so excited because it is a dream of mine to go to a show. So yeah, they start having a back and forth. Grayson Waller says, if we do have WrestleMania Australia, we can have the Grayson Waller effect and you can be a guest on my show. It'd be great for you. And then John Cena's like, no. And then he's trying to leave the ring. And then Grayson Waller's like, nobody says no to being on the Grayson Waller effect. They start getting into a bit of a brawl, and then John Cena ends up hitting Grayson Waller with an attitude adjustment. I loved this. I think this was the best way to use John Cena in a moment like this. Get the crowd excited for potential events in Australia and more events in the UK. Fantastic use of John Cena, and it was actually a great way to break up the wrestling in the premium live event. I felt it quite refreshing, and it got me ready for the next 3 matches. Then we had the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now the participants of this match were Io Sky, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Trish Stratus and Zelina Vega. Everybody makes their way out to the ring except for Becky Lynch. She comes out to the ring last. The crowd starts singing her song, absolutely unglued, goes nuts. She gets treated like a hometown hero. And obviously Trish and Zoe are already in the ring. As Becky's coming around the corner, walking around the ladders to get in the ring, Trish kind of signals to Zoe hey, go get her. So Zoe Stark hops out of the ring and Becky and Zoe start brawling outside of the ring. Trish goes and follows. Ring bell gets rung and the match is underway. I actually enjoyed the women's Money in the Bank ladder match so much more than the men's. There were so many great spots. Zelina Vega had said in an interview that I had watched a couple of days ago that she was taking a lot of inspiration for these Money in the Bank ladder matches from Edge and Jeff Hardy matches from the past of when they've been in these. She said if you want to be in a ladder match, you have to go big or go home. And honestly, I cannot complain. She did a fantastic job. All of the women in this match did a great job. Trish Stratus took some really big bumps as well too, which I was very surprised with because I was like, well, sometimes part-timers, Hall of Famers come back and they don't really want to be in the actual match as much as some other people need to / have to be. But yeah, I was really impressed with her performance. Everyone did a great job. There was one moment where Zoe Stark went under the ring and found a set of handcuffs. She was going to handcuff Becky Lynch to the ring or to the ladder, to the ring ropes or anything to stop her from trying to climb up the ladder. She gets one handcuff around Becky's wrist and then Becky starts beating down on Trish. Becky's still wearing the handcuffs at this point in the match. There's a lot of good moments where different people are running up the ladder to try and get to the briefcase. The one more iconic moment that happened at the very end. Now, there was a spot where Io was on the ladder with somebody, I can't remember who, but Bayley pushes the ladder off, and I feel like it got referenced on commentary that maybe Bayley didn't know that Io was on the ladder, but I think Io knew that Bayley pushed her, and this set off some further storytelling in the match. So the ladder gets reformed, Becky's running up the ladder, Bayley follows her, and obviously they're both kind of beating down on each other, some semi at the top of the ladder, so the top of the ladder's here, they're beating up on each other here. Then Io Sky comes up behind Bayley, and just the way I'm going to describe this makes it sound like it didn't actually happen, but it fully happened. So Becky had a handcuff on her wrist, the loose handcuff was hanging. Io Sky put both of Bayley and Becky's arms in the ladder under the rungs, handcuffed them together so they couldn't actually move, and then Io Sky went up behind Bayley and retrieved that briefcase, Ms. Io Sky is your new Women's Money in the Bank winner for 2023. She now holds the briefcase. I'm so excited for Io Sky. I think this is going to be the start of her main event, main push as a single star. I do think there will be a moment maybe at SummerSlam where Bayley and Io fight for the custody of the briefcase, with Dakota Kai trying to figure out who to side with. Considering this year's SummerSlam will be the 1 year anniversary of the inception / debut of Damage Control, I think this would be a great way to have some implosions happen in the faction, and even potentially Bayley could bring in some more members to kind of go up against Io. I don't know, but the match was great. The right winner won. I think this was awesome. Next up, we had Seth freaking Rollins going up against Finn Balor. Now, this match was for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. I already knew Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. The combination of these two together, they always put on a banger. I thought it was an awesome match. Finn wore this really cool mask when he came out to the ring, and I loved it. Obviously, black and purple theme, very reminiscent of the Judgment Day faction. I think the match was really good. There was a moment where I think Seth got thrown into the corner of the ring or outside the ring, and it was the buckle bomb move that happened in 2016. It was a really great match, a lot of really hard-hitting moves. I really enjoyed it. I do think Finn and Seth have some very good chemistry together. I didn't write many notes because I was solely just trying to focus on the match and focus on the greatness that is the chemistry between Seth and Finn. Then the crowd start turning around, turning towards the entrance ramp, and I kind of was like, what have we got going on here? We see Damian Priest come out to the ring. He's holding the briefcase. He's not running. He's walking very slowly. And he walks out to the ring and people are like chanting, cash it in, cash it in. And he comes out to the ring and he stares at Finn and he stares at Seth and he kind of just walks his way around the ring and he just kind of walks and he looks like he's thinking about cashing in, but he doesn't actually cash in. And then he obviously does it enough to distract Finn, and then Seth kind of takes over in the match and Damian pulls up a chair and sits down, and I thought he was walking over to the timekeeper's area to say like, I want to cash in my Money in the Bank briefcase. That didn't happen, but that's totally fine because we can wait a little bit longer, wait for the story to develop itself more, for that moment to be more impactful. It would have been impactful if he cashed in tonight, but I think just waiting a little bit longer adds a little bit more tension. So Damian comes in, pulls up a seat, kind of gets involved in terms of creating enough of a distraction to turn the match around out of Finn's favour. Seth Rollins ends up winning the match, and then there's a moment where Finn's outside of the ring kind of arguing with Damian, being like, what are you doing? Why did you do that? You've completely ruined my opportunity. So that, I think, is going to create more tension towards the Judgment Day and towards Finn and obviously Damian in the faction itself, creating some extra tension so that when that moment does happen, it's going to be great. I thought this was an awesome use of bringing Damian in. Now, Seth looked kind of confused, but Seth Rollins knows that with a Money in the Bank briefcase, you can wait more than just the 1 day to cash it in. And I think in the press conference, he was like, yeah, I kind of got what he was doing and I saw what he was doing and I applaud what he did. And then in the presser as well too, Damian Priest was basically saying, I think it was a bit of miscommunication, misunderstanding. I wasn't trying to intimidate Finn into thinking that I was going to cash in on him. It was more to scare Seth. I think this is totally a load of bollocks. I do think that he did it to intimidate Finn as well too. So when that moment happens, when Damian Priest cashes in, I think it's going to be fantastic. The last match on the card was the Bloodline Civil War match. Now, this match kind of started off a little bit slower. I expected to start it off a little bit slower, and obviously they were kind of sizing each other up. The match started with Jimmy and Solo in the ring. They were kind of sizing each other up. Solo looked like he didn't really know if he wanted to go up against Jimmy and start wrestling him. The match kind of then picked up a little bit in terms of the pace. Roman started getting a little bit more involved in the match, so he actually spent quite a bit of time in the ring. So did Jey Uso, and I feel like this was obviously so that Jey Uso could show Roman how much hurt he's put on the family, how much hurt he's put Jey through, and I think Roman wanted to be in the match quite a lot so that he could punish Jey for obviously what happened and the fractures that were formed in the bloodline. He did the same with Jimmy. He spent a lot of time beating down on Jimmy in the match. There were times in the match where the match kind of picked up in pace and then slowed down, picked up in pace and then slowed down, but once it picked up again at the very end, it just kept going. I loved this match. I was focusing a lot on what was going on. Paul Heyman's facials were everything. Paul Heyman was talking to Roman outside of the ring. Roman was saying that, London and the UK are a bunch of idiots, they're stupid. And obviously, Paul Heyman was trying to keep hyping up Roman to keep him going. But once Jimmy and Jey got going, at the very end, they got going. They were doing so many good combo moves together. There was a point in the match, I think it was Jimmy. I can't remember if it was Jimmy or Jey. Someone got caught in Roman's guillotine. I think it was Jimmy now that I'm thinking about it. And it looked like he was going to fade away, but he found the strength to get back up and, slam Roman to the mat. I thought this was great. And we called it. Jey Uso is the one to pin Roman Reigns for the first time in 3 years. So Roman Reigns has not been pinned since December of 2019. I believe he was pinned by Baron Corbin. Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns. And I'm not mad at it. So this happened, everyone was celebrating, everyone was singing the Usos theme song, they were so excited. Roman's on the outside of the ring, crouching down, sitting down by the apron, like down the bottom of the ring, looking really sad, looking really glum, kind of confused, like what's just happened, where do we go from here, looking in disbelief that, Jey was the one to beat Roman. I loved this match, peak cinema, it was fantastic, and I was so in awe of what happened. Now, I do think this will lead to a further match between Jey and Roman at SummerSlam. To be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Now that we know that Jey is stronger than Roman, I can see potential for Jey to be the one to dethrone Roman. But I'm not really too sure where we go from here in terms of that storyline. I was just so excited to see the Usos come away with the win. Clearly the UK crowd was as well. And that was the last match that capped off Money in the Bank 2023 for me. So, all in all, I loved this premium live event. As I said at the beginning of the recap, this is like my top favourite premium live event from this year. It was awesome. The crowd just made it fantastic. And they always say that a crowd that's really good makes a premium live event, but an amazing crowd elevates a premium live event. And the UK crowd, both at SmackDown and at Money in the Bank this weekend, hats go off to you because you guys truly made a memorable live event like even better. So yeah, those are my thoughts. That's my recap on the Money in the Bank premium live event for 2023. Let me know what you guys thought, how it went for you down below in the comments. What match did you like? What did you like about it? Any returns that you were super hyped about? Let us know down below in the comments. Make sure if you like this video that you like, comment and subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate your love and support on these videos because you help us continue to do what we're doing. Also make sure you check in the description down below for everybody's personal Instagram and TikTok links so that you can follow our personal content when we're not posting on the Outcasted OC YouTube channel, and we will be sure to update you when we're having our next podcast. I know we're not doing one on Thursday this week due to some scheduling conflicts, but we will be back the following week, so we'll let you know what it's going to be about and a little bit closer to the time when it's happening. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed my recap. I freaking loved Money in the Bank. I'm so excited for SummerSlam, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.